Hey there, brand builders. This is Mash Bonigala, brand strategist. In my previous video, I was talking about the 5-pillar brand strategy. So I wanted to make a series of videos, 5 of them for each of the pillars, and just walk through the different kind of tasks and action steps and so on and so forth. So in the previous video, we asked the question, who are your customers? And then there were 3 primary tasks: audience tiers, archetypes, and audience persona. So let's dig into that. First of all, why do you need ICP, right? Ideal customer profile. And you'll be surprised, but a lot of business owners don't really know their ICP. They don't know their ideal customers. I mean, they do know their target audience, or at least they assume that they know their target audience, but don't really know who that ideal customers are. Now, why does this happen? To answer that, I'll tell you a little bit of a story, right? This is from my own experience. I started a design firm back in 1998, a very tiny design firm, 2 people. I grew that to $1 million business by 2012. So yes, it took 10 years to reach that $1 million. In 2012, Google updated its algorithm. And then, we had all our eggs in one basket, that is Google organic search. We were really strong and powerful on Google organic search. And when this update came out, a lot of websites, millions of websites were affected. And ours was one of those collateral damage. So from overnight, we went from 100% revenue to less than 10%, right? Actually 5%, 95% of the revenue slashed out. So we went from a $1 million business in the course of 4, 5, 6, 7 months to making, less than $5,000, right? So it was a terrible time, and I had to let go of a huge number of staff. And okay, to cut the long story short, maybe that I'll do a separate video with a full story. But 2012, I then sort of came back from that devastating kind of situation. I rebuilt the company. 2016, 2017, we'd made the first $1 million after that incident. Now, how did I do that? There were, of course, a lot of factors, positioning, strategy, pricing, all that. And I'll probably make videos on all those topics. But the primary one that started the rebuild, that growth, and to bring us back was identifying who our ideal customer profile was, right? Because I just asked one question: who did I want to serve? Who was it that fit my service like a glove, and who did I want to serve? And that quest led me to identify, to sort of figure out and polish this concept of the ICP. Now, of course, ICP, ideal customer profile, is not my concept. It's an obvious thing. It's out there. It's in marketing field. But I took it to a whole new level. So that's a story for another day. But I've broken down that building that ICP into 3 kind of primary tasks. And the first one is identify audience tiers, right? Identify audience tiers and asking 3 simple questions. The first one: what is their primary focus? What are their desires? And what are their challenges? So asking this question, what is their primary focus, gave me my first tier of audience, right? So look, a lot of businesses out there, they just think of audience as a homogeneous group. It's just one group of people that are just sitting there. In fact, a lot of business owners think of anyone who can pay for their service to be their audience. And in a way, that is true, but that won't work. I mean, mass marketing never works for small businesses. And I'm going to be doing a video on that because it's a very important topic. Mass marketing never works. It works for big businesses that are making $3 million or over, $300 million a year. Yes, mass marketing works, but not for you. So never look at big businesses and their tactics and their strategies and try to copy them, because no, with your limited resources, with your limited time, money, whatever, you can never mass market, right? And it's going to destroy your business. So ask the question, What is their primary focus? What is the primary focus of the audience that I want to serve? And the primary focus may not be directly related to your product or service. You're looking at their worldview. What is their biggest focus in their lives? And then you had to figure out, how does your product or service fit into that focus, right? So that gives you the primary tier. And then the second one is, what are their desires, right? So besides the usual desires that people have, what is the biggest desire that this group of audience has? And these desires could be, making money, happy family, health, fitness, hobbies, lots of things, desires, right? So ask that question, what are their desires? And try and document, investigate what the desires are. What do they desire? And then what are their challenges? So as they go through life, what kind of challenges are they facing? If these challenges might be related to their desires, it might be related to their primary focus, or it could be other challenges. Now, by asking these three questions, you can have one or more tiers of audience. Look, there's nothing wrong with having just one tier of audience, right? One tier. In fact, that's a great way to actually niche down, because as they say, the riches are in the niches, right? So that is great. But typically, you will notice that you will have maybe 2 or 3 tiers of audience. Now, any more than 3, you're falling back into the trap of that mass marketing, trying to say everybody is, and demographics don't help, right? That's what the next point is. The demographics don't work. Demographics are like age, gender, marital status, location, occupation, their income, all these things. Yeah, they're well and good, but there are dated pieces of information. They don't really work now. You need to look at the psychographics, the thought processes. What do they think? And for that is the next task, which is identify archetypes, right? So for this, the primary archetype will be based on the primary focus. The secondary archetype will be based on the challenges. And then you got to decide on the archetypal mix. Archetypes, and I've done many videos. In fact, I did a series of videos, I think about 12, 13 different videos on all the archetypes and what they mean and the psychographics behind them and all that. So I suggest you watch those videos before taking up this task. But once you understand what archetypes are, the power of archetypes, then based on the primary focus, you can figure out. So you look at all the archetypes and then decide which of those archetypes will match this primary focus. And then which of those archetypes will match the secondary focus, their desires. And then see if you can find a mix, because you could be 70% of one archetype, 30% of another archetype. I mean, your primary audience and each of the tiers. So each of the tiers could have archetypal mixes. It's a little confusing, I understand, but if you understand what archetypes are, then you will be able to figure this out. Okay, and then once you have, by the way, so before I go to the third point, do you see how powerful this is? Are you getting an idea of how you can go about identifying your ICP, ideal customer profile? And this is not just guesswork. It's based on a framework. It's based on a series of steps, tasks, action items that then give you that information. So there's no more guesswork, not just because you think, oh yeah, I like this type of audience. No, yes, it would work, but no, that doesn't lead to success. All right, let's get to the third kind of task, which is create audience persona. So you take the primary archetypal mix, you create some core words, then you list the characteristics of that archetypal mix, and then you create the ICP cards. Based on the archetypes and their psychographics, you can create a set of core words that represents this customer profile, right? Those core words represent their worldview, their primary focus, their desires, their challenges, their fears, and all that. Then list out the characteristics. So this is where you actually create a single person, a semi-fictional character. Give that person a name, Joe, Jessica, whatever. And then create an kind of ICP profile card where you're listing out their demographics, of course, their age and all that, but you're also listing out their psychographics. What motivates them? What do they fear? What kind of challenges are they facing? What kind of desires do they have? All this you put together with a photo and you have your ideal customer profile. So with the ideal customer profile, you ask, who are your customers? Then you split your audience into audience tiers. You pick archetypes and archetypal mixes for each of those tiers. And then for each of those tiers, you create an audience persona. And that way you have your ideal customer profile. Okay, so that is the ideal customer profile. And the second one, if you remember the 5-pillar brand strategy, we asked the question, who are your customers? The next one is, why does your brand exist? That may be not enough in one video. I might do a series of videos. I hope you found this useful. And if you haven't already, I would say subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so that when the next video in this series comes out, you're there. Now, if you have any question on this topic, just hit me up on Twitter or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can just follow me there and then send me a message or ask me a question. All right, till my next video, take care and prosper.